Here. Do we have a quorum?
No.
Missing.
Eduardo's coming in.
Who?
Eduardo, he'll be here. He'll be here in just a moment.
Okay, sounds good. We'll wait a couple minutes for that. It's 9:11. Can you please take the roll?
Yes. Oh, I think I'm just a minute. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Chairman Alvarado,
Yes, here.
Vice Chairman Martinez,
Here.
Director Bates,
Here.
Director Weiner,
Here.
and do I call Director Stanley?
No.
No.
Okay.
She's an observer.
All right. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, seeing we have a quorum, next item, please.
It is the Pledge of Allegiance or an observation of moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
by the United States
of
America,
the
and
Republic,
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item, please.
Next item is the special order of the day. A, reorganization of the agency board of directors recommendation. Appoint WCA chair and vice chair for fiscal year 2021.
So can I get a motion to the chair, which if we follow protocol, it would be Vice Chair Martinez. So can I have a nomination for please?
Well, I make a nomination that Nat Bates be appointed because it's Richmond's turn. But in lieu of that, I'll relinquish and vote and support Eduardo Martinez as the chair. How about that?
Yes, great. I second that. So the item moved and seconded. Take the roll.
Okay. And that would be Director Weiner,
Yes.
Chairman Alvarado,
Yes.
Director Bates,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Martinez.
Yes.
All right. Congratulations.
Motion passes.
Congratulations, Chair Martinez. Now I make a motion that we nominate Director Weiner to be Vice President.
Second.
Right. The item's been moved and seconded. Please take the roll.
Chairman Alvarado,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Martinez,
Yes.
Director Bates,
Yes.
and Director Weiner.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question on point of order. Mick, the thing says to take office on July 1st. Does he take office now or July 1st?
July 1st. It goes fiscal year, July 1 to June 30.
Okay, so at this point, I continue to run the meeting?
That is correct.
All right, thank you. Next item, please.
Approval of the agenda order. Any member of the board may request an agenda item be postponed or removed or heard out of order. An item may not be added to the agenda unless it meets the requirements of an emergency situation as defined in Government Code Section 54956.5.
What is the body?
I move the agenda be accepted as is.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Gina?
Sorry, I didn't hear you say anything. I apologize. Chairman Alvarado,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bates,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
thank you. Director Bates
Yes.
and Director Weiner.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, do we have any, the next item, please?
The next item is public comments. I did not receive any public comments.
All right, let's move on to the next item, please.
Okay, the consent calendar. Matters of the consent calendar are considered routine and will be approved without discussion. Prior to approval of the consent calendar, a member of the board may request that an item be removed for discussion. If a member of the public would like to speak to an item on the consent calendar, the member should email the board clerk, which is me, prior to the start of the meeting. I did not receive anything.
Okay, so minutes on the consent. Could you read that, please?
I'm sorry, approve the minutes for the special board meetings held on April 17th, 2020 and May 15th, 2020.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move the item.
I second.
Okay, item's been moved and seconded. Please take the roll.
Chairman Alvarado,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Martinez,
Yes.
Director Bates,
Yes.
and Director Weiner. It passes. Motion passes.
All right, next item, please.
The next item is the action calendar. The board will discuss, seek public input, and possibly take action to approve or disapprove these items as followed. A, fiscal year 2021 budget. The recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving the fiscal year 2021 West County agency and authorizing the agency manager to expend budgeted funds.
Okay, who's giving a presentation on this?
Mayor Alvarado, this is
There it
Justin
is.
Lovell. I will be giving a brief presentation on the budget. I will pull up our budget. Just as I am pulling up this item, so the WCA adopts a budget every year. Member agencies, the City of Richmond and West County Wastewater District participate in the cost sharing. This year is here we go. So this year we are separating the capital costs from the other personnel and non-personnel expenditures with the budget. Our proposed budget total revenue is estimated at $4.8 million. Our total expenditures is approximately $350,000. And we are estimating about $5 million in capital spend this year. And so that brings our total expenditures to $5.3 million. Let me go down just briefly into the capital side. So as this year's budget, we are separating just so it's a little bit clearer to see what the proposed capital expenses are. So we have the sodium bisulfate facility project, which there's already been a budget approved this last fiscal year for $3 million. We just had a contract for Corollo approved for the design work. So this budget that's already been approved is rolling forward. And then we are recommending additional $1.9 million based on some preliminary construction estimates to get us through the construction costs. Now this is just a budgetary number. And then we have our pipe repair and sludge repair line. We didn't get to it as quickly as we thought this last year, but it is, once the cathodic protection study is complete, we'll have a better identifying of what repair needs to be done, but that budget will be rolling forward. City of Richmond and West County Wastewater have already paid their share for this project, as well as the cathodic protection project. What we will be doing this year, as had been discussed in the last meeting, is that we will be waiting to bill for the capital projects as the expenses incur. So we will, instead of billing the full year, it has been the typical past practice as per the JPA. We will just be billing the O&M expenditures, which is approximately $177,000 for each agency. That will be budget upfront, and then we will submit invoices for each agency when we are ready to go to construction for the actual share of construction cost. And so the percentage share for each of the projects is listed here in the budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, let's start with Director Bates. Director Bates, any questions?
He's muted.
Kind of hard to let him know.
Matt, you're muted.
There he is.
Director Bates, any questions, comments?
No, I don't have any question at this time. I'll defer to my colleagues.
Okay, thank you. Director Weiner.
No, I have no questions.
Vice Chair Martinez.
I don't have questions about the budget, but I do about the process. Have we worked out the arrangement between approval of finances by City Council before they're billed to the city?
I can take a first cut at that, Board Member Martinez. I can't speak directly to how you're handling it there at the City of Richmond and your council approval, and I think Yoder could speak to that. But just in answering the question as far as the sequencing and the timing of some of these invoices, we tried to make it very clear in the resolution for the budget this year that 65-35% share specifically for the SBS project is slightly different than the 68-32 share that's in the JPA. Also, the JPA requires that we bill for the entire budgeted amount once the budget has been passed, and that's what's been happening in the past years and on all these invoices. But we're acknowledging right in the resolution this time that for the construction portion of the SBS project, we will not invoice the two agencies until much closer to the time of construction, after we have the bid specs and we're getting prepared to be able to go out to bid. Then we'll need the money in the WCA accounts before we can enter into the actual construction contract. Then there's and then as far as the JPA amendments, we will work on that because there's a few things we want to address, some of the process and the timing. So this is a slight change from what's actually in the JPA currently, but that's why we're putting it in a resolution to make it very clear that that was the intent of all the parties. And we will be working on both an amendment to the JPA specifically for the SBS project so we can clarify the roles and responsibilities and the process that we've laid out of going through the City of Richmond contracting process, as well as utilizing Veolia to provide construction management, et cetera. And then we will also amend the JPA, and that may take us a little while because there's a few questions between the two agencies that we clearly need to work out, one of which will be administration of the agency and how we might want to rotate that more formally inside the JPA rather than just saying that one agency or the other is the administering agency. So there's a number of issues we want to talk about there. But for purposes of the capital projects you see right here, yes, we will be billing for the construction phase of the SBS project later in the year once design and specs are put together and we're getting closer to construction.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vice Chair Martinez. I have no questions, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the action calendar.
Excuse me,
Yeah, we have-
are you accepting any comments before you approve it?
It's from who?
This is Everett Jenkins.
Sure, go right ahead.
Oh, I was curious. I was reading the resolution, and it wasn't quite as clear with regards to the payment by the city. It says here that the participating agencies must deposit into the West County Agency bank account their share of the SBS project costs before the construction project is put out to bid. That's what the resolution that I have reads on page 13. Am I correct in that?
That's correct, Everett, and that's different from what, as you know, the JPA says that we're supposed to bill and then receive payment once the budget has been passed. So we don't have a specific time on that. That's something staff will be in communication with. But we want it to be done before we go out to bid in some reasonable time frame that Richmond has enough time to take whatever action you need to take with your city council so that the money can be available at the time we're ready to enter into the contract.
Okay, and so you need all of the 2.9 million up front then, is that correct?
That's right, because it's a publicly bid construction contract and we need to show that we can encumber that contract with the funds.
And do we have an idea when we're planning on putting the project out to bid? Is that a date certain that we're going to do that?
There's not a date certain, which is why it's worded a little bit loosely like that. It's clear on the intent. Carollo is under contract and is beginning the design work, and their estimate is sometime in the fall that they'd be in a position to have the specs together. So we're talking late fall, early winter to probably bid that project.
Okay. I think Mary Phelps has some comments that she'd like to make.
I do. And mine may be directed more towards Justin regarding the previous year's projected budget. You stated that we paid $272,000 for the previous repair of the sludge leachate pipe, but yet that project's not going to begin until July. Yet we received an invoice for $270,000 for the Carollo contract. If the sludge leachate project isn't going to begin until July, why wasn't that project carried forward to the July fiscal year and then the $272,000 used for the SBS project?
I'll go ahead, Justin.
Oh,
and
sure.
then Justin can fill in any details.
Okay.
Because Mary, the intent, it's just like many capital projects, is we budgeted for that last
Sorry,
June.
I can't hear anything.
Okay. Somebody was saying they can't hear?
I can hear
Who
you.
is that?
All right. So just like it was budgeted last June, the investigation, the divers have not completed the investigation at the outfall. We have completed the cathodic protection assessment, but the bid specs have not been prepared for the construction. So essentially what's happened on that project is it didn't move as quickly as we had hoped for a number of reasons. But in the JPA, as we stated earlier, required that we bill in the entirety for what was budgeted. Now the Carollo, that was also happened within the fiscal year, and that's for the SBS project. And so again, according to the JPA, we're supposed to invoice for that. However, your point's well taken in that we haven't gotten to the construction phase. We've only spent money on the assessment phase, and we don't have the actual construction cost. And what we could do on this is the amount for the Carollo invoice to Richmond and the amount that had been credited for the $400,000, that portion of the Richmond invoice there, are almost identical. And so we can go back, we can take a look at that, and we can provide a credit so that we can keep Carollo moving. We have the funding available. Carollo can do the design work needed for the SBS project. But then what will happen is we will then submit an invoice to Richmond once we have the full assessment on what the construction cost will be for the repairs to the outfall and the cathodic protection improvements, which we'll know in some number of months here. And then we'll follow the process that we've just stated earlier, that we will then invoice prior to bidding that project and making sure we have it. So that gives Richmond a little time there and a little relief as far as what I think you guys are looking for, to say, hey, we've already paid and you're going forward on this work. Why don't you apply what we paid for that? The reason, again, why it was billed that way is because that's what the JPA says to do. But we're in the process of working together to amend the JPA. We understand the intent going forward is to try to do this fashion, and so we're willing to certainly to try to accommodate that and have that work on this one as well. So we'll have to go back and adjust that, but it's almost an even swap between the Corolla and that one.
And that is that, and not to cut you off, but that is exactly what the city feels, and we've discussed this with our finance director. We just didn't want to see, you know, an invoice come in for $270,000 and then have another $270,000 carried forward. Our finance director really frowns on carrying forward that many thousands of dollars to the next fiscal year. And when we got that first, you know, $2 million invoice, you know, as you both know, we got a lot of heartburn over that, and that $2 million would still be sitting there, you know, based on the fact that this project didn't move forward. So we are a little gun shy on some of this. We do appreciate the agency working together with Richmond, and I think relations have improved, but we just want to make sure that we're not carrying, you know, a couple thousand is fine, but hundreds of thousands gives our finance director a lot of heartburn. So we would like to see this amended to have the $270 for the Corolla contract paid now. Then we take the amended budget to our city council and pay for the cathodic protection or the global diving with the new fiscal year. And we do have money set aside for that.
Yeah, there's no need to amend the budget because we have the budgeted amount. It's just when it's the timing of the invoicing. And so when you say amend, what we can do is we can go back and credit that invoice and make the adjustment. If it's a couple $1,000s one way or the other, we'll figure that out and either say, yeah, you know what, you're still got a credit of a few $1,000s towards this, or it's even. I'm not sure. It's really very close. I mean, it's within a couple of $1,000s of each other. And
yes,
then,
it is. Okay.
But we want to leave it in the budget because we fully anticipate doing the construction work on the cathodic protection repairs and the outfall repair this fiscal year. But we'll just bill closer to the construction time. And then here you have the budget passed, so you're well aware of what's coming. And then we'll be in communication, and you'll know when we're getting ready to invoice for that construction, so you can do whatever actions. And that's where I say that's the part that is not perfectly clear to me, but it is to you, I hope, what actions you need to take over there in Richmond to make sure that that money's available.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. I would encourage staff to, when you get your agenda, and the agenda was sent out on Monday, that all technical questions be sent to to Andrew so he can get the answers for you. And I think we can save a lot of time that way. All right, so can I get a motion to approve this action calendar?
I move that the board will discuss and see. Is this yes? I move that we adopt a resolution adopting the West County agency budget for fiscal year 2021.
All right.
Second.
All right, item's been moved and properly seconded. Please take the roll.
Chairman Alvarado,
Yes.
Director Bates,
Yes.
Director Weiner, and Vice Chairman Martinez. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Vice Chairman
Vice
Martinez.
Chair. Yes, thank you. Motion passes.
All right, next item, please.
The next item is information reports. The purpose of these reports is to provide information to the board and the public on projects, programs, and issues related to the overall operation of the agency. No decisions will be made on these issues. If a director or staff prefer formal action on any item, it will be placed on a future board meeting agenda. A is West County Agency Fiscal Year 2019 Financial Statement and Fiscal Year 2020 Check Register. The recommendation is to receive the Fiscal Year 2019 Audited Financial Statement and the Fiscal Year 2020 Check Register.
All right, who's presenting on this?
This will begin, Justin Lovell, Administrative Services Department Manager. I'm happy to answer any questions. We have the audited financial statement for fiscal year 2019 for West County Agency attached to the report, as well as our check register for year to date. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about these.
Let's start with Director Bates.
No, I've got no questions.
All right, sir. Director Weiner?
I had a question. In the body of the report, there was mention that one year we had that Richmond 1 year paid a reduced amount, and I was just wondered what the occasion of that to have happened during 2018.
I don't have the answer to that specific instance. I'd have to do a little bit more research, as you know, I wasn't here at that time, but I'm happy to get back to you, Director Weiner.
That would be fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Director Weiner. Vice Chair Martinez, questions? Vice Chair Martinez. Is Vice Chair Martinez muted?
He is muted. I'm going to see if we can unmute him.
Thank you, Justin.
Close again.
Like this, you may froze.
Okay. Can you restate the motion?
There is no motion. Do you have any questions on the report? All these are actionable items.
Okay.
Any questions?
Frozen.
It appears he didn't have any questions. Is he still frozen?
No, no question, no questions.
Oh, thank you. I have no questions either. Next item, please.
Next item on the information report.
I just have one question on the check register, if I may.
All right. Once again, staff should have these questions to the appropriate staff before the meeting, because the question section is correct. But go ahead.
And I do apologize. I didn't realize what the protocol was. I will not make this mistake again. On some of these checks, do some of these come out of the capital costs as well as O&M? That was my only question.
Yes, there are, depending on what they're for, the majority of these checks, there's really only one check that is associated with the capital cost on this check register, Listo Engineering. The rest of them are associated with operations and maintenance.
That was my only question. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is 7B, San Francisco Bay Regional Water Quality Control Board Annual NPDES Compliance Report. The recommendation is to receive the San Francisco Bay Regional Water Quality Control Board NPDES Compliance Self-Monitoring 2019 Annual Report.
All right. Who's giving us a report on this?
Good morning, directors and staff. This is Aaron Weiner, Water Quality Manager for West County Wastewater District. I don't see the actual cover letter up on your screen. Can you get there, Gina? I think it's probably farther down on the report, or in the packet, rather.
This is the agenda. I'm sorry, I didn't know I was supposed to bring that up. Justin, do you have it quickly available? Or does somebody that they can take over the screen share?
Yeah, I can do that if you'd like to have the cover letter real quickly. I'll do that for you.
Thank you, Justin.
Thanks, Justin.
Make sure this
and the letter is in your packet, and really what it is a summary of compliance issues for the West County Agency Annual Report. And you will see that there were 20 violations noted for the Richmond Treatment Facility. during the year. Those have been discussed periodically at these meetings. So really, it's a matter of whether there are any questions on those, on the substance, the body of the cover letter there. I also have the unique perspective of having been the project manager for Veolia in Richmond at the time of those exceedances, which happened the first 4 months of 2019. So again, I'm positioned to answer any questions.
All right, let's start with Director Bates.
Well, with these violations, does that trigger a fine, more action by baykeepers? What is our status, as you assume it might be, as a result of that or those violations?
So what I can say is that the state or the regional board actually has actually sent a letter. They sent a letter in, I believe it was December, outlining penalties and monetary fines for the associated violations. I believe there were 28 violations altogether, 20 last year, and then 8 for the previous year or two. So that process is working its way through. We've been in contact with the city of Richmond, who is working with Veolia on settling the penalties, and they're due for payment next month.
Okay. What is the corrective action necessary to avoid these violations in the future? Do you have any idea? Maybe staff.
What I can tell you, Director Bates, is that the particular violations that are noted here were unusual in that they began in 2018, and let me back up a little bit. There is nobody from the city of Richmond or Veolia obviously on the call here or in the meeting. So I guess I'm a little bit going out on a limb speaking for those folks. But what I can tell you is that the whole situation was unusual in that in September of 2018, when there were substantial construction projects going on at the Richmond treatment plant, the primary clarifiers and the secondary clarifiers were all completely rehabbed. And that led into the initial problems and compliance issues, and they were carried over into 2019 under heavy rain events. So it was a very unstable 6 or 8 month period, which began with the construction that was going on at the treatment plant. So I can only say that I think it was a highly unusual circumstance and set of conditions that led to this, including extremely high flows for a period of months. And so correct, and it was investigated thoroughly, both internally and with outside consultants. And I think it's a long shot that this type of thing would happen again. So really, I think that's about all I can say at this point about.
Well, maybe I can get a response from Yara or Mary in terms of their assessment and what are the potential manners in which we can avoid this in the future, if they have any comment.
Yatra, you want to speak?
I am aware of some deficiencies that were found by the baykeeper, and there was a settlement. Are we talking about the same issues?
No, these are from the treatment plant. This is the $84,000 penalty that we incurred from the regional board that Veolia has paid, and then we're also doing the supplemental environmental project through the Kids for the Bay. So basically it was, we think that it was just like Aaron said, due to the construction and a one-time situation where Veolia has assumed responsibility and has issued the check for the fines. And they will be also supporting the supplemental environmental program for the remaining amount for the Kids for the Bay program. So Baykeeper was not involved in this at all. It was just a violation through the treatment plant.
Okay.
Director Bates, if I may, through the chair.
Sure.
Just one more point that just occurred to me. I mean, it has been, over a year since I was really involved in discussing these matters. But I would say that there's one other thing that is important to note, and from a corrective standpoint, something to think about, especially for staff who are still involved in construction projects at the plant there. We had a very aggressive construction schedule in 2018, trying to do all of this work during the dry season, which is essentially a 6 stretch. And one of the things that we came up, so what it resulted in was the construction schedule really driving the operation, and it really should be the other way around. And I think in the future, during construction projects, more forethought has to be given in terms of what's going on with operations as opposed to construction. So if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Bates. Director Weiner.
No, I have no comment.
All right, thank you, Director Weiner. Vice Chair Martinez.
No questions.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Martinez, and I have no questions either. Next item, please.
Next item is item C, the Sludge Pond lease agreement. The recommendation is to discuss the Sludge Pond lease agreement between the City of Richmond and West County Wastewater.
All right, who's giving us a report on this?
Chair Alvarado, this was a request by City of Richmond to have this on the agenda, so I'm going to defer to them for any comments or brief that they want, and then we're prepared to discuss it in any level desired by the chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Anyone?
Mr. Chair, I refer to our staff who Everett Jenkins and I think Yada as it relate to the purpose of this discussion.
Okay, very good.
Everett, you're up. Everett?
Everett's muted.
Oh,
Okay,
Everett,
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. As many of you may know, there is a lease agreement between the city and the West County Wastewater District for the sludge ponds, where we have our sludge being dried in your sludge ponds. That lease agreement has been in effect for over 10 years now, or about 10 years. And we're coming up to the 4th extended term, which goes through the year 2025. There's no provisions for what happens after 2025. And it is something that needs to be addressed, one with either another contract amendment or what had been done previously, and we need to have some thoughts and discussion about is there an alternative sludge disposal method that both parties might be interested in looking at to try and address the problem. If not, then I would request that the West County Wastewater District Board put this on their radar so that you can give instructions to Mr. Cabral with regards to how to proceed on entering into negotiations with the city for an extension of the lease beyond 2025. And I say this now because only it's obviously 5 years, but Mr. Cabral and I are the ones that originally did this, and I don't know what our tenure may be going forward. So I would like to get this done fairly soon, so there is certainty with regards to planning going forward after the year 2025.
Mick, do you have any response to that?
No, let's see, Richmond, I don't know if Richmond has provided notice under the most recent amendment, which would renew the lease effective July 1, 2020. In order to do that, they just need to give written notice and pay the rent. If the WCWD board is interested in negotiating an extension, I'm happy to do that.
On Tuesday, the City Council did approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to send that letter requesting that we enter into the 4th extended term. So that should be coming, if Mary doesn't have it today, then it should be coming to you probably by the end of the week. But I just wanted to put this on everybody's radar, because if we are going, we have in the past, and in fact, the 1984 JPA agreement was designed to address an ultimate sludge disposal project. We've never really gotten around to addressing it. We've looked at it occasionally, but we have not actually done actual planning on it. So this seems to be an opportune time to discuss that.
Okay, Chair Alvarado, I can make a few comments here.
Sure, go ahead.
As far as the lease, yeah, once we get the notice from city manager, we can do that. We can also, Mick, I'm sure we could work on that to make an amendment there that would allow this to be extended past 2025 if necessary, so that we have room to continue to work on some alternative treatment of sludge. And as far as treatment of sludge, we are working on some long-term plans for that. I very briefly talked to Yoder about that in no great detail at this point, but we are taking a look at some significant process improvements at the West County Wastewater Facility, and we're hoping that we can get ourselves out of the sludge lagoon business at some point in the next 5 years or so, maybe perhaps even less, and that we want to work with Richmond and make sure that there's an option for them to enter into, you know, appropriate agreements that we could continue to treat the sludge, but we would do it through a different process. It also will involve Republic and the whole leachate agreement with them. We have had some preliminary discussions with them as well, because they're interested in reviewing that agreement, because their costs have gone up significantly in the current arrangement, and they want to review some alternatives. But it involves quite a intermingled mix of agreements between Richmond, West County Wastewater, and Republic, as far as the treatment of the leachate, the treatment of the sludge, and these various agreements. But we are aware of it, Everett, and we're working towards some kind of a long-term plan. And we'll be engaging with staff from Richmond in much more detail in the coming months as we start to develop some kind of a term sheet or a letter of intent, so that we understand what each agency's general position would be on what they would like to see as we move forward. And then we'll move forward with some additional planning, and then eventually identify what types of agreements need to be in place and what agreements need to be amended to actually execute all the details of that. But it is definitely in the interest of West County Wastewater to alter and change and improve the process by which we dry our sludge, and we're very closely linked with Richmond on that, so we'll be working closely with them. And that's, I think, about all I've got on it right now, unless there's some questions, and then Aaron and I could answer a few more if you would like.
Okay. No, that satisfies me. I just wanted to make sure it was on everybody's radar, because
yes, sir, it is
the time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Director Bates, is that all you have?
Yes, unless Mary Yada like to comment additionally.
No, just that the letter will be delivered this week.
Okay, we're fine.
Thank you. Director Weiner.
No, I think Andrew mentioned that we are looking at some big changes in that process, and it's all around our carbon footprint. So it's going to have positive effects all around.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair Martinez?
No comments.
All right, and I have no further comments either. Next item, please.
B is Agency Manager, Board Attorney, Staff Reports. Receive oral reports from the Agency Manager, Board Attorney, and staff on issues pertaining to the overall operations of the West County Agency.
All right, Andrew?
Chair Alvarado, thank you. The only thing additionally that I was intending to perhaps talk about a little bit was the status of the JPA amendments, and I think I already said what I had to say on that when we were talking through the budget. And then if there'd been anything else on the SBS project, if anybody needed some further details, but I think we're all pretty clear on where we are with that, with the Carollo contract, and that scope of work was before this board last time, and so I think we're all aware of what we're working on there, and the status of that is the contract is in place, and we're going to apply the funding that Richmond's already submitted, and so Carollo is underway with the design work on that, and unless there's some more specific questions on either of those issues or anything else, that's all I had to add at this time.
All right, so let's go in order. Director Bates, any questions for Andrew?
No, no questions.
Thank you. Director Weiner?
No questions.
Vice Chair Martinez?
No questions.
Thank you. I have no questions. Anyone else, either from staff or the board attorney, have any report?
Nothing from the board attorney.
Thank you. How about staff?
No.
Okay, going once, going twice. Someone said something.
Nothing from Richmond.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next item, please.
The next item is board reports. Members of the board of directors will report on recent conferences, seminars, meetings, and issues pertaining to the overall operation of the agency. No decisions will be made on these items. If a director prefers formal action on any item, it will be placed on a future board meeting agenda. A is reports from board members on issues pertaining to the overall operations of the West County agency.
Director Bates, any report?
No report.
Thank you. Director Weiner, any reports?
I have no reports.
Thank you. Vice Chair Martinez?
No report.
All right, and I have no reports either. Next item, please.
Number 9 is the good of the order. Informal observations, reports, and inquiries regarding the business of the agency may be presented by directors under this agenda item, or requests for placement of items of interest on a future agenda may be made.
All right, Director Bates, anything for good of the order or future agenda items?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Director Bates. Director Weiner, anything for good of the order, future agenda items?
Yes, please all stay safe in these times of coronavirus, and good luck out there.
Thank you. Vice Chair Martinez? Vice Chair Martinez muted?
It looks like he's frozen again.
Give him a second.
Yes, okay. I'm back on. So,
Okay. Anything on good or future
nothing.
agenda?
No, I'm fine.
Why? So next item, please.
The next item is adjournment, sir.
All right, the time is 10 o'clock and we're adjourning. Everybody stay safe, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.